What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamer in the Wardrobe, where I literally play video games in the comfort of my closet. Today, we're going to be going over Set 2 Pestilence. Very unique contender in Alpha Clash. If you're new, seasoned, just trying to find a fun deck to play, stay tuned and check this thing out. So first things we're going to do is we're going to go over the contender itself. Contender is Pestilence, Prince of Plagues. He is a 20 health contender, and he is a 0 attack, 1 defense contender. And that 1 defense, my friends, definitely comes into play. Even though he's a 20 health contender, you're not going to be getting popped for 1 attack, 2 attack heroes. You're going to be taking a lot less damage. So it plays like a 30 health contender with having the 1 defense, right? Now, at 20 health, Pestilence Prince of Plagues gets when a clash card an opponent controls is defeated during a primary phase, you may engage this card. If you do, draw 1 card. And then his second one, when he gets below 12 health or at 12 health or below, he maintains the first ability at 20 and then also gets once per turn during your primary phase. You may discard 1 or more cards from your hand. If you do, target clash card gets -X until end of turn, where X is equal to the number of cards discarded this way plus 1. So if you discard 1 card from your hand with that effect, it's actually -2/-2. If you discard 3, it's -4/-4 because you're getting the +1 ability. Now, another thing I want to point out is the first ability only triggers when it's a clash card, or when a clash card an opponent controls is defeated during a primary phase, you may engage this card. So a unique thing is you can, if you get below 12 health, you can discard a card from your hand and kill a character or a clash card, an opponent clash card in the primary phase, and tap your Pestilence to draw a card. So really, really cool draw engine. The way Pestilence plays is very much more of a control-y build. You're doing a lot of your damage in the primary phase versus the clash phase. So instead of butting heads with other clash cards, you're dealing a lot of damage outside of clash. That said, let's hop into the deck profile. So the deck I have built right now is a green red deck. And the main deck is right here, and we'll just kind of go over each card individually, explaining some of the synergies. We'll explain some of the mulligans you want to look for, what the deck does, maybe some resourcing and curve, and then go from there. So first thing I'll point out is the 1 cost clash cards, actions, and accessories. And this is also a really, really good tip because when you're playing Pestilence with this green-red build, you're going to want to try and hard mulligan for the Plague Forged Scrap. And what this does is on turn 1, you resource a green, and you play this from your hand. Now, not only does it have a really cool ability, but when you play it from your hand that it enters the field, or enters the board, it activates the portal. A lot of what Pestilence tries to do, you want to make sure you get the full benefit of it without any disadvantages. So you're going to want to play this game, or Pestilence's game, a lot of times with the portal being open. So Plague Forge Scrap, wow, say that 5 times fast. Woo! It comes into the battlefield on turn 1, opens the portal, which is huge. And then it reads, during your primary phase, if the effect of a Pestilence card, clash card you control defeats an opposing clash card, you may send this to oblivion. If you do, draw 1 card. So ultimately, if you kill an opponent's clash card with a Pestilence card, Pestilence clash card, you can discard this from your accessory zone, because this is an accessory, draw a card, and then you also, if you remember the contender's ability, can engage your contender to draw a card. So you're drawing 2 cards off of this, and you're opening the portal, right? Hopefully that made sense. If we go back to the deck, we are running 4 of these. This is 100%. You have to have 4 of these in your deck because it is just that good. It is such a good draw engine, and it gives you a lot of portal control. The next 1-drop we're running is a Clash Ground. This is low Earth orbit. Trigger enter if the portal is open, as we talked about. The target clash card gets -1/-1 until end of turn. The portal costs 1 less resource of any color to activate. So A, if the portal's open, this is a really cheeky -1/-1 to a clash card an opponent's controlling. And then B, it's a 1 cost, 1 resource of getting rid of a clash ground. So I usually play this reactively if the opponent has a really strong clash ground out there, something like Grant Park or something that's really controlling the field. I'll play this out for 1 cost to bump that clash ground out. Okay. The next 1 cost, I like to run Piercing Strike. This is a counter attack. So this is a quick action counter attack. So you keep 1 red resource up on your opponent's turn so that when they attack, you can counter the attack and deal 2 damage to target attacking clash card. Nice little cheeky play. A lot of people aren't expecting it from Pestilence, and it's a pretty unique card for the deck. It definitely catches people by surprises, and I think you'll like it if you add it in there. Next, 1-drop. So you're noticing a lot of 1-drops. Pestilence plays a lot of control, a lot of the high-value 1-cost resource. This is Favorable Outcome. It's a 1-cost red, and it's deal 2 damage to target clash card. If that clash card is defeated by this effect, create 1/1 red Harbinger War Minion Clash token. So ultimately, it creates a 1-drop token, a 1/1 red token, and kills something that's 2 defense or less. Very, very great card, very good for control. And again, if you're killing a clash card with this ability, an opponent clash card, you can engage your contender to draw a card. So that's going to be the overlying theme of the set 2 Pestilence is I kill something with a action or a -/. I'm killing their clash cards outside of the clash phase during the primary phase, and in doing so, I get to draw cards from that. Next one we're going to go over is the Clash Buff. Little tip if you're new to the game, each contender has to run a Clash, or you don't have to run a Clash Buff, but it has to be the same color as your contender. So if I'm running a green contender, it has to be a green Clash Buff. If I'm running a blue contender, it has to be a blue Clash Buff. So since Pestilence is a green contender, we're running a 1-cost green Clash Buff, which is Infestation. So you may play this card if your contender is a green Harbinger. So pretty exclusive right now to Pestilence because he, I believe, is the only green Harbinger contender. And it reads, target contender or clash card. So you can target your contender or clash card with this ability. You control gets +3/+0 until end of turn. Then target opponent discards 1 card. So the discard 1 card and the +3 attack can be very, very critical, very, very crucial, and you can play it aggressively or you can play it defensively. Let's go back here. The next 1-drop we're going to talk about, and the last 1-drop in the deck, is the Epic from Clash Grounds set 2. And in set 2, it's Pestilence the Infectious. It's a 1-drop green. Trigger Enter. Target clash card gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If the portal is closed, you discard 1 card. So if you remember, a lot of our cards are activating the portal, and we want the portal to be open. This is a very, very big card. If the portal is closed, you are playing at a disadvantage. You are now having to play this and discard a card, which is not good. Not good at all. So a lot of the early plays we're doing to get the portal open is so that it can allow this Pestilence card to be at full strength. It's a 2/1, 2 attack, 1 defense, and it -2/-2s a clash card. So again, with the Pestilence Contender ability, I play him out, I -2/-2 an opponent's clash card, that clash card dies, I tap my contender, I engage my contender, and I draw a card from that ability. And if you remember Plaguebringer Scrap, if that's also on the board, a Pestilence card is now killing a clash card, so I can send that to Oblivion to now draw another card. So you can see where the draw engines are really starting to make a lot of sense here. This is a very good card to have in your hand turn 1. You definitely want to try and get this card in your hand turn 1. So that is all of our 1-drops. Now we're going to go over the 2-drops, and at the end of this video, I'll kind of zoom out and do a slow motion so you can kind of get an idea of how I want to build the deck, and you can see it all at one time. Or you can just pause the video now and kind of take a snapshot, build your deck, and do what you need to do. So the 2-drops, first one's going to be, again, Pestilence Mayhem Maker. This is a 2-resource, 1 green pip, so you have to use 1 green resource at least to play it. And this is a trigger enter. You can target contender or clash card, and that contender or clash card gets -1/-1 until the end of turn, and then you draw a card. So again, if your opponent has a 1 defense clash card out, you can play this, kill that, draw a card, tap, engage your contender, and draw a card. You can also use this aggressively. If the opponent is playing a contender who is a 0 attack, 1 defense contender, you can play this out and then minus that stat. So now it's a 0/0 contender, and you can get a lot more damage through. And again, this will work with Plagueforge Scraps because this is a Pestilence card. That's the key, is you have to use a Pestilence card to then send Plagueforge Scrap to Oblivion to get the ability and draw the card from that. The next 2-drop we're going to talk about is Solar Smash. Again, this just gives us the removal we're looking for to draw off of our contender ability. And this is just deal 3 damage to target contender or clash card. So if you have a target contender, your opponent, and they're on their last leg, you can use this aggressively to hit their contender. You can use this to, let's say they have the Buffalo. Everyone knows the white Warcry Buffalo. It's a 3/4, and when it's engaged, it's a 3/5, and it basically stops you from swinging because it can kill everything with its ability or negate your attacks. So this is a situation where you could play Solar Smash, lower it down to 2 HP, and then drop, or 2 defense, and then drop that 1-drop Pestilence that -2/-2s, and you can kill that Buffalo without actually having to swing. So really strong card. It's only 2 resources, and one of them's red, so really, really easy to get out. Really, really easy to play on curve and play aggressively or defensively with it. And then that's it for the 2-drops. So let's go to the 3-drops. We don't have any more clash cards that are 3-drops because a lot of our early on plays are going to be, control-y, counterplay, draw, things like that. So we're just going to go to the 3-drops, and I'm going to start with the Clash Ground, the Wastelands. Pestilence clash cards get +0/+1. So this does not work on your contender, but all of those Pestilence cards I talked about earlier and that I'm going to continue to talk about now get +1 defense. So that 2/1 Pestilence that comes into the play and -2/-2 to your opponent's clash card is now a 2/2 Pestilence that does that because it has the +1 defense from Wasteland when it's on the field. Now that's a really cool stat, but the bigger thing with this card is the second ability. Once per turn, during your primary phase, you may return target clash card you control with an initial resource cost of 4 or less to your hand. That's incredible, right? So in the same vein, let's say the opponent has a 4 defense character. I have this on board, and I have the 1-drop Pestilence in my hand. Let's say hypothetically it's engaged. Their card's engaged. I could play my 1-drop Pestilence, which is now a 2/2, -2/-2 on that card, pull it back into my hand once per turn. I can pull a clash card back into my hand and play it out for another 1 resource and -2/-2 it again and get rid of it completely. So really, really strong effect. You can use this with your second Horseman, your Unrivaled, which we haven't gotten to. Some of your other Pestilence package cards, you can pull them back and replay them out with this card. So very, very, very strong, almost staple card if you're going to be playing Pestilence. Okay, the next one's going to be Crimson Scales. Again, going with more of a control-y build. This is a 3-drop, 1 red pip card. It is exclusive, which means you can only have 1 of them on the board at a time. And it says once per turn during your primary phase, you may engage this card. If you do, deal 1 damage to target clash card. If that clash card is defeated by this effect, choose 1. Deal 2 damage to another clash card, deal 1 damage to target contender, or draw a card. This card is incredible in this deck. Absolutely incredible, right? Not only can it engage your contender from killing stuff, but it also draws a card. It doesn't leave the field. It just sits there and pings and pings and pings. So a lot of times if you can get this on board, you're trying to get their clash cards in the primary phase down to 1 HP or 1 defense, ping them with Crimson Scales, and then you can tag something else for 2 damage, you can hit their contender for 1 damage, or you can just draw another card. And in doing so, if you kill it with Crimson Scales, you draw a card from Crimson Scales, and now you can engage your Pestilence contender and draw another card because you just killed something in the primary phase. Really, really, really strong card to have in this green-red Pestilence package. I'm only running 3 because it is exclusive. I can only have 1 on the board at a time. The next card we are going to talk about is going to be... Let's go to... Okay, we don't have any other Clash cards. There are 3. So those are our 3 drops, right? So now we're getting into the money. Now we're getting into the game enders or the game closers or the game changers, right? We'll save the Unrivaled Second Horseman for the last card of the 4 package, and we'll start over here. Again, this is a Pestilence card, Pestilence Plaguebringer. It requires 2 green, 4 total resources. Trigger Enter. Target Clash card gets -3/-3 until end of turn. That's really good. You get a 3/3 body, and you can -3/-3 something in the primary phase. So if they have a 4 defense character, and you have Crimson Scales and this in hand, you play this out, -3/-3, hit it with Crimson Scales. There you go. You got rid of their body, drew 2 cards because Crimson Scales draws you a card. Pestilence Contender draws you a card because you killed something with Crimson Scales, and now you have a 3/3 body on the board. Another thing, let's say you have Crimson Scales on board and the Wasteland, and you hypothetically have 8 resources. You could play this out, -3/-3, pull it back into your hand, -3/-3, play it out again, ping something with Crimson Scales. You now just got rid of a 7 defense character, or potentially a 3 defense and a 4 defense character because you killed the 3 defense, pulled it back into your hand, played it out again, -3 on the 4 defense, hit that 4 defense with the Crimson Scales to get the 1 last defense off, and now you're drawing 2 cards. So really strong card, and this also synergizes with Plagueforge Scraps because it is a Pestilence card that has heavy removal. The second part of this is when it is defeated. Triggered defeat, meaning it is not sent to oblivion, but it is killed off or dies with a stat reduction or a clash. If the portal is open, again, portal being open is big, in this deck you may put target clash card with an initial resource cost of 1 or less from your oblivion on top of your deck. So that 1-drop 2/1 Pestilence that -2/-2s, let's say he's in your oblivion, this card dies, whoop, he's right back on the top of your deck, and he's ready to go for that next turn. The next 4-drop we're going to talk about is going to be War Strifebringer. This is an extremely good card. Really, really good. It's a Harbinger, which is just synergistic with the Harbinger package if you want to swap some things in for Harbinger stuff. But this has Trigger Enter. It's a 4-resource, 2 red pip. Trigger Enter, you may activate the portal. So if the portal is closed and you want to open it, you may activate the portal when you play him, and then he creates 2 1/1 red War Minion Clash tokens. So you play him out, you can activate the portal if you'd like. It's a 3/3 body, and it creates 2 1/1 bodies. And then the icing on the cake is when it attacks, if the portal is open, you may engage any number of Clash tokens you control. If you do until the end of turn, this card gets Breakthrough, meaning it's going to hit the card and go to the contender, whatever is left over attack damage, and +1/+0 for each Clash token you've engaged. So let's say I play this out, I activate the portal, he's on board and he creates 2 tokens, and I want to swing at, let's say, a 2 defense Clash card on the opponent's board that's engaged. I would swing, and during my attack, I can engage my additional 2 tokens, and now this is a 5/3, and I'm swinging, killing that Clash card, and then the additional damage from Breakthrough is going to the contender. So really, really good aggressive card. Can get rid of some big bodies where they're not expecting it, and it has portal play. You can also play it out and have it sit on your board. You can also play it out. Here's another thing. You play it out, you do the swing, 5/3, get whatever damage through. Let's say you have Crimson Scales on board and they don't have a target that you can kill. You can Crimson Scales your own token to draw a card, deal 1 to a contender or deal 2 to one of their clash cards. So you can use this aggressively and then get the draws or get the effects from it from some of your cards as well to, again, gain that card advantage. And then the last 4-drop we have is going to be War the Second Horseman. This is an unrivaled card, meaning you can only have one of him in your entire deck. So exclusive is one on the field at a time. Unrivaled means you can only have one unrivaled card in your deck, period. Okay? And it's because they're extremely overpowered. This is a card you want to have in your hand at all times. You would almost never resource this. You'd almost never mulligan this because it is that strong. It's a 4-resource, 3-red pip, unrivaled card. Trigger Enter. Deal 3 damage to target contender or clash card. So it enters the field and it's popping something for 3 damage. Then, trigger attack. Target defending player may send a clash card they control to Oblivion. If they don't, deal 2 damage to that player's contender. So let's say hypothetically, they only have 1 card on board and it's engaged. Well, I can now swing at the contender and not swing at that card. Now they can either send that card to Oblivion and I don't deal the 2 damage to the contender, but if they choose to keep that card on the field, I'm now dealing 2 to their contender plus the additional 4 this is attacking with. So hypothetically, this comes on board, you can hit the contender for 3. If there's nothing obstructing you can swing at the contender for another 4, and then if they don't have anything on field, or if they don't want to send their clash card to Oblivion, you're now pinging them that contender for another 2 damage. So this could literally be a 9 damage, 10 damage card where it hits the field and just deals 10 damage. It's a very strong card, and it's definitely something that you want to try and get in your hand at all times. One thing I will say, a little tip, is if you're swinging at a card that's engaged, it's kind of silly with this card, unless you really, really, really want to get rid of it. Because if you swing at a card and you trigger that attack, that opponent can just choose to send that card to Oblivion. So kind of be careful, and then basically nothing happens. You swing at it, they send it to Oblivion. Okay, what's next? Now he's engaged. One last little tip: if you have Wasteland on board, you can play this card out, swing, do everything I just said, pull it back to your hand, and then play it again next turn. Or if you have the resources, play it again from your hand. So very, very strong card, and it synergizes, again, really, really well with a lot of what we have going on here with the Pestilence package. Last couple of cards, and then that'll be it for the contender breakdown and the deck profile. We have the 5-drop Magnate, the Tyrant. It is exclusive, so you can only have 1 on the board. It has flight, so it is a flight character, meaning it can go over ground units can't obstruct it unless they have specific keywords. And it is trigger enter. You may send target accessory to Oblivion. If you do, then all other alpha clash cards you control get +1/+0 until the end of turn. Really strong card. It's a flyer. It hits the board. It can get rid of an accessory if your opponent has a weapon or maybe a face down card, or maybe like Crimson, they have Crimson Scales. You can play this, get rid of that, swing at the contender or something for 5 with flight, which is almost always not blocked. It's a really, really strong card in this deck. We also have 2 of the 6-drop Magnate Lone Fighter. This is kind of like a Hail Mary play. Not a Hail Mary play, but it's a really, really cool, unique game finisher or game changer. It has flight. It says this card gets +4/+4 as long as you control no other clash cards. So what you can potentially do sometimes is towards the end game, a lot of your units don't have high defense, so you can start exchanging, right? Swinging at obstructed cards, yours dies, their dies, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Or you can start obstructing aggressively if you know this is in your hand, basically clearing your board and then dropping this the next turn as an 8/8 flyer and hitting them. Even more critical, an 8/8 flyer, and then if you have that clash buff infestation in your hand, it is now an 11/8 flyer and your opponent discards a card. So really, really cool finisher. Really fun to kind of play around if you find the opportunity to basically get rid of all your clash cards on your side and then drop this the next turn. And then the last card we're going to talk about is almost a staple in all green contenders, or all green. If you're running green, you're likely going to be running Coggin. It's a 4-pip, 6-resource, green resource card. It's very, very strong. It's flight, and it's trigger enter. You may send target clash card to Oblivion. That's it. Basically, you play it, and you say, I don't like that clash card. Let's say it's a 7/7, or let's say it's the Buffalo, the 3/4 Buffalo, or it's something that's really, really pesky that you just haven't been able to get a hold of, or maybe your current cards just can't deal with it. You play this out, send it to Oblivion, swing at the contender for 5, or use it as a flying blocker. So extremely strong card. I recommend at least 3, maybe even 4. I'm only running 3 simply because I kind of like the lone fighter. So that is the card breakdown. Lastly, we'll kind of talk about the curve and some of the resourcing. Obviously, with a lot of heavy green, you're going to be wanting to get a lot of green resources down, especially because Magnate is a 3-pip green and Coggin is a 4-pip green. But you also have the Horseman, who's a 3-red pip. So the resourcing is a bit unique. I would say if you're going to have a good starting hand, you're going to want 1 or 2 Plagueforged Scraps in your hand, likely 1 Clash Ground just to play defensively, a Crimson Scales. You likely only need 1 in your hand, 1 of the Pestilence, 1 of the 1-drop Pestilence, or 2 of the 1-drop Pestilence, and then you kind of curve out from there. You know, you want to have something you can resource, you want to have something you can play early to get some removal, but the big thing is if you can get Plagueforged Scraps out and then start removing cards, you're going to draw into a lot of your bigger bodies. So you don't necessarily need to have the 5 or 6 or even the 4 drops in your hand with your starting hand, because a lot of your abilities are going to draw plenty of cards to get those into your hands from there. And that's kind of the style of play. So real quickly, we got, again, Pestilence Contender. He's the set 2 contender. And Clash cards, you're running 4 of the 4-drop Pestilence, 4 of the 2-drop Pestilence, 4 of the 1-drop Pestilence, 3 Magnate the Tyrants because it's exclusive, 2 of the 6-drop Lone Fighters, which is that 8/8 flyer if nothing else is on the board, 3 to 4 Coggins. That's the play it, you get flight. It's a 5/5 and sends anything to Oblivion, which is an amazing card. 4 War Strifebringers, 1 of the unrivaled Second Horseman Wars. Your Clash buffs at the 1-drop Infestations, 3 of the Favorable Outcomes, 3 of the Solar Smashes, 2 of the Piercing Strikes counterattacks, 4 of the 1-drop Plagueforged Scraps. Again, this is a staple in Pestilence. You want to have these in your starting hand. It's going to make the game a lot easier. 3 Crimson Scales for the exclusivity of it. And then your Clash Grounds are going to be 4 Wastelands and 2 Low Earth Orbit as a counterplay typically to get their Clash Ground out of there. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the deck breakdown. I appreciate you guys staying tuned. And if you enjoy what you're seeing, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see another deck breakdown, I got a couple of these. I'm going to try and post them as best as I can. Let me know. And if you want to see a specific contender, maybe one that isn't getting a lot of love, or one that you really like but no one else is hyping it up, shoot me a message in the comments, and we'll see if we can make something happen. Again, this is Pestilence Set 2, and this is the deck breakdown. I'm the Gamer in the Wardrobe. I'll see you guys next time.